Happy New Year, everyone!
Happy New Year.
So we wanted to talk about, or share, converse, start a conversation, kind of share our internal conversations. This is something I brought up with Josh, 2 minutes ago?
Yep, all of 2 minutes ago.
So as with everything, this will be kind of build the plane as we fly it, which is actually the message today.
Yes.
It's about imperfection. It's about, the creative life, the creative process being a life process,
yeah.
being the life process.
And in the context of the first few days of 2018, usually the time that everybody's doing their resolutions or has done them, and you get very focused on the end game, you get very focused on the goal, you get very focused on, the 15 pounds or the 3 days a week in the gym or whatever it is. And
or the business goal or the whatever, yeah.
And you forget that it's actually the journey that you're committing to, not the end.
Yeah. I mean, and the end is important, of course. That's what we all want.
Yeah.
The
end is the carrot.
Right. We want to get to the end to be able to celebrate and to show ourselves that we did it.
Yeah.
But we forget that there are lots of little mini celebrations sort of all throughout this life process, meaning all throughout the creative process, known as going after something that you haven't done before. And what I mean by mini celebrations is like, agreeing to or understanding that there will be bumps, that there will be again, that it will feel like a creative process, which if any of you have seen, I'm sure it's like on the internet somewhere, and I know even on this phone right here, I have a graphic that I used for a creative heroine, my creative heroine talk. And essentially it says, the creative process, and it says, you start out thinking to yourself, this is so awesome, right? It's like an idea or the goal or just sort of some spark of inspiration that you have. This is so awesome. And then you go through the creative process, and the next sort of phase of thinking and or feeling is, no, this is crap. And then sort of the third, layer is, actually it's not that bad. Fourth layer might be like, no, this is real crap. This is horrible. And then hopefully by the end of the creative process, you're feeling like you did at the beginning, like, no, this is actually a great idea and I'm going to keep moving forward. And that's what I mean about mini celebrations, is that we all know that being human is always going to bring, the sideways and the ups and the downs. And, hopefully we can agree to, or we can get excited about having these mini celebrations when sort of like where we can laugh it off, where we can, when we're at stage 2 or 3, really doubting our ideas or doubting ourselves, we can go, okay, sort of silly brain, silly me, silly creative process. Like, I'm in the process right now, but you know what? I'm celebrating, or in other words, I'm gonna make light of it. I'm gonna have fun with it, because this is how it can be. Meaning, this is just part of the process of doing something new. Of going after a goal, etc.
Yeah, actually that journey this is awesome. Actually, this is kind of hard. Actually, this is crap. I'm crap.
Which is when you
get to the bottom, and then you start coming up the other side, and it's like, wait, hold on a second. This is getting kind of good. I'm pretty good. This is awesome.
Right.
So you kind of go through that depth. And I think, that's the truth of any creative endeavor, is that the way that you thought about it when you start is never the way that it actually ends up, because when you get into the work, you just can't predict what that work is going to be. And wrestling and grappling with things is actually part of it all. It's not a negative space, it's actually part of the creative process that enables you to get to an end that maybe wasn't exactly what you thought at the beginning, but is still awesome in its own right.
Yeah. And that's really, when I just sort of shared the idea with Josh, saying, hey, I'd love to chat about this, and turn on the camera and do it. The very first thing I said to him was, hey, you know what I was just thinking about? Is that, here we are in the start of the new year. And a lot of times, you know, when with intentions or resolutions or goals, we have, you know, we're so excited to get after them, and they also come with this sort of feeling, without even really consciously thinking so, they come with this feeling of like perfection, that there's just that it's going to be a straight shot, right? That it's going to be a straight line from where I am right now and today to where I want to be, you know, in a week or in 6 months or by the end of next year, or by the end of, this year. And that, you know, that as we all know, there is no perfection. And so I think one thing that really helps me, like when I think about the projects that I have coming up, some things that are really super new, that I've never done before, that are kind of scary. And by the way, for those of you who have not maybe seen my live streams on this or have seen my posts, something is dropping to those on my email list, in other words, my newsletter list, on January 9th. Very different. It's going to be an experience. Literally, it is an experience. That's all I really want to say for now. But if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a creative type, if you're aspiring to be, if you're an activist aspiring to be, if you're a healer, if you're an artist, you know, definitely check that out. In other words, add yourself to that list, and you can do that at michellegelati.com/gift of 2018, and it literally is a gift. But when I think of, you know, doing that or doing something else, like with the writing of this death book that I have, and this idea that probably some of you have already heard me talk about, of taking someone with me on the road, literally going to different parts of the world, learning about how they do death, in other words, how they do life, and taking someone with me who is either in chronic pain, or through my hospice work, hospice volunteer work, maybe I can take someone, you know, who's in hospice. These are, you know, these are different ideas, meaning they're, I think I was sharing even with Nolan the other day, like, you know, it's kind of scares mama, and that is exactly kind of why I want to do them.
It's actually a space you want to be in.
Yeah. And so there is no, there was a thought that I had that was going to connect to that. Let's see if again, there is no perfection, so let's see if I can get it back. So yeah, there is no perfection. It really is, oh, I know. One of the things that really helps me with, you know, following these new ideas that have never been done before, or that scare me a little bit or a lot, is already from the very beginning thinking to myself, I know that there is going to be ups and downs through this process. So before I even, I mean, again, and I'm excited about the goal, or I'm excited about the idea, I'm excited about the end result, as you were saying, of course. However, I know that that is going to be a creative path. In other words, that there are certain things that I'm gonna, you know, maybe not feel so great about. There's gonna be maybe some, you know, potential bumps and such, but I expect it. In other words, again, and I'm not manifesting it. I'm not saying that I'm like, okay, things are gonna go wrong.
You just know that that's part of it.
Right. And it might sound weird to say, like, and I'm even excited about that, but there is an excitement of, I actually have no idea where the path is going to lead me, meaning, of course, I have a strategy, or I have some idea, you know, around that inspiration, or around that that thought, that new spark. But I kind of celebrate, and I am excited that I don't know everything, and I know that I am, and hopefully you can take this, you know, borrow this, take this for your own life as well, and for your own goals and projects coming up. I know that I am, fill in the blank, you know, resilient enough to figure it out. I know that I, you know, have the support, the emotional support, or the physical support, you know, to ask when I don't know something.
Yep.
That sort of thing. So I think going into your goals, or your resolutions, even if you made those, with this just understanding that life process, in other words, that that path is going to be a creative path for yourself. So think that, and own that, and be excited about that before you even start on the path. And if in a week, or 3 weeks from now, or 3 months from now, on your way to that goal, or, you know, as you're, on the way to that goal, if and when something happens that was not expected, and that maybe hurts a little bit, or is slightly uncomfortable, you just will, you know, you'll just nod your head and go, all right, here's this little, you know, this color that has been added to this particular path, and I kind of expected it. And this is what's going to make that idea even better, because I can now use the lessons, I can now use the perspective, I can now use this to instruct, you know, where I'm either going to pivot or just where I really want to be.
Or evolve,
Yeah, because sometimes I think those things, you know, the discomfort or the things that we don't expect, they do come to us to actually support us, to actually guide us in the direction of what we truly want. And so the pivots or the mistakes or the bumps or the trip ups are not really that. It's just, it's more information. It's just like, it's information that we can either take as something that means, as you were saying about the creative process, like I am crap or I am no good, or we can say to ourselves, hey, you know what? This is additional watercolor, this is additional paint or color that I can use for, you know, to instruct, as I was saying, the idea.
Yeah.
And then
That's good.
That is good. And there was something else that I wanted to share, and that was the Swami thing. Do you want to share about that? Since I've told that story a few times, do you want to tell my story?
Let's see if I can get it right. The one about the path.
Yeah.
So you, if I remember correctly, you were at an event.
Yes.
And you got up and actually asked the Swami about how do you know that there are so many different paths you could go down. How do you know that you're on the right path?
Pretty much.
And he basically said, the path that you're on is the path, and focus on that.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the way you said that.
Kind of like be where you are and be in what you're in, as opposed to always thinking about something that's out there, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you did. And I like the way, again, each of us have such different words and different ways of expressing. I love the way that you filtered it. And I think
it's similar.
Yeah,
go ahead. What did the Swami say?
Oh, I think his exact words were, so I got up at this event, and it was the first person to ask a question, and I said, you know, I'm really curious, this was probably about 7 or 8 years ago, I'm really curious what you have to say about, for those of us who are standing, you know, who are at a crossroads, not necessarily in life, but just in crossroads in like on our creative paths. And, you know, that fork on each path basically is going to deliver and or offer us the same amount of happiness. Which path, like this is what you're thinking, right? Like each one looks pretty good. Like which one do you take? And he said, you take one path at a time. Next. he was off and running helping other people. That one was like an easy question to him. And I've shared this with clients over the years because it has helped me so much, where obviously, again, we were talking about, you know, being really focused on the end result. And of course, we do want the end result, as we were saying. And this is kind of connected to that, basically saying, you know, sometimes like on that creative path or on our life path, we run into a trip up, or meaning we trip up, we run into a, you know, a crossroads, or we feel discomfort and we want to veer away, right? We go, well, this is obviously not working, let's try something else. Or maybe this isn't the goal for me, or this isn't the business for me, or this isn't the relationship for me, or whatever it is. When in reality, like the Swami said, take one path at a time. In other words, keep following that path. Just keep going until you can't go anymore. Like really play the whole tape through. Like, you know, see the whole story, or have yourself sort of, have yourself really understand what that path is.
It's also the recognition that you're on a path, and not focused on where the path is leading to and when the path is going to end and all of that. It's like I was interviewed when we were in Amsterdam, probably like 6 years ago, for a vlog called Junior Strategist, and it was basically for entry-level strategists in advertising and marketing. Want me to hold it?
Can you?
Yeah. Entry-level.
Careful, it doesn't go in the pool.
Strategist. And one of the questions was, what do you tell a young strategist who's trying to build their book? Like they need
build
to
their like resume, basically.
It's essentially like, you know, get a body of work together that kind of shows who they are and what they're capable of doing. And I said, well, the only way to do that is to do the work, and that means more than the work that's going to show up in your book. It's also building the relationships that you need to build, It's showing up every day. It's diving into the things that maybe aren't in your job description. It's all of the daily things you need to do will get you to the end, as opposed to focusing on the end.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You build a book by showing up.
We could just push end right now. That was great. Yeah.
Okay, click.
Well, I just wanted to say, kind of repeating what we said at the beginning, you know, the creative process is the life process.
Yep.
And that's honest, you know, that's honest. And I feel like the more that we live honestly, in other words, like the more that we allow ourselves to be human, the more that we accept our humanness, is that how you say that? Humanness? Humanity, the happier we are, you know, and it's shaking. The happier we are, and also the more graceful, potentially, with more light, the more with the least amount of discomfort, we actually get to where we want to be. We actually get to that end result with a little less or a lot less pain, a lot more fun, if we just accept that there is no, you know, reminding ourselves once again, especially at the beginning of the year, there is no perfection, and that's perfect.
Yeah.
And that it's all about, accepting that creative process. That is, that's life.
That's life.
So Happy New Year, everyone. We are, for those of you who've seen our photos and stuff, thanks so much for saying hi and Happy New Year and all your sweet messages. We're here in Guatemala. We're still at the beach. We're actually leaving in probably 3 hours or so. We're about to have lunch with about, I don't know, 25.
15, 25.
Yeah. Oh, somewhere. You know, it's Guatemalan counting. It's either 18 or 36, you know. With my family, we're gonna have lunch. We're staying at my cousin's place at the beach, which is super beautiful. I'll just show you. It's like three different casitas like that. This pool that we have our toesies in, and the beach is over there. We had a really super fun 2018 ringing in
right
over there with fireworks and lots of dancing. I think at some point in my dancing, I was doing what? Remember we were joking about it yesterday?
Yeah.
What was I doing?
I don't know.
Oh, jumping jacks while I was dancing.
I thought you were going to say cartwheels.
Oh, no. I think I would have hurt my ankle. That's not feeling great. So anyways, we're here in Guatemala. We're headed to Guatemala City in a few hours to spend the last few days, and then we're back to the U.S. So from Guatemala, from our family, from my extended family, to yours. Hopefully you guys had a super fun ringing in of the new year, and we will chat with you guys soon. Bye-bye.